everyone, Miss Jean here again for another mini adventure. Have you ever watched a house being built? Well, the first thing the builders do is lay a solid foundation. They level the ground, they dig the footings, and they pour a concrete slab that's reinforced with steel bars. Now, if that foundation isn't level or isn't strong enough, the whole house could collapse. Now, there's a famous building in Italy known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Before it was even finished, it had already started to tilt to the side. The Leaning Tower of Pisa didn't have a solid foundation. Now, today, Mrs. Lee's class is going to learn a lesson about the importance of a solid foundation. The lesson will be a little shaky at first, but they'll exercise their faith in a way that they'll never forget. Come on, let's join them.
All right, math period is almost over. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Mrs. Lee. On number 8, do I need to round the numbers before I multiply?
Yes, Lana, and remember to show your work.
Okay, thanks, Mrs. Lee.
Psst, Lana,
What, Harold?
what answer did you get for 1?
You're still on number 1? You haven't even started on today's work.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't. You don't have a single problem done. I can see your paper.
Then you can see that I have my name and the date right there at the top. Mrs. Lee says that remembering to put our names on our papers is important. So, I already have the important part of the assignment done.
You'd better stop fooling around, or you'll have to stay in at recess to finish.
I don't really care.
Well, then Gracie will take your place in Foursquare.
Hey! Well, if you put it that way. If there were 260 seats at the auditorium and all but 43 seats were occupied.
Harold tried to focus on his math assignment, but then he remembered a riddle that he'd been meaning to tell his friends, so he leaned forward and tapped Lana on the back.
Psst! Hey, Lana, I've got a riddle for you.
Huh? What are you talking about, Harold? I told you to get your work done, or Gracie will take your place in Foursquare.
Hey, you guys, quit talking about me.
I just told Harold you can take his spot in Foursquare if he doesn't finish his math.
Oh?
How do you know Gracie finished her math?
Because she's a math genius.
Well, not exactly.
Harold, stop playing around and pushing my chair with your feet.
I'm not pushing your chair. My chair's moving too.
My chair's moving too.
It's an earthquake.
Stay calm, everyone. Time to drop, cover, and hold, just like we practiced in our earthquake drills. Everyone under your desks.
Is it over?
Is it safe to come out from under our desks, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, I think it's safe to come out now. Is everyone okay?
I didn't think that there were earthquakes up here in the mountains.
They're very rare, but never say never.
That's the first earthquake I've ever been in.
Me too. The ground isn't supposed to shake. I mean, the mountains are made of rock. If you can't trust solid rock, what can you trust?
That's an excellent point, Harold.
It is? Huh. Yeah, an excellent point, Harold.
Quit joking around, Harold. That earthquake was serious.
You're right, Lana. Class, we'd like to believe we're standing on solid ground, but in this sinful world, sometimes not even the earth beneath us can be trusted.
That's a little scary.
Oh no, I didn't mean that to sound scary. Listen, there is a rock we can trust.
Do you mean granite? It's harder than any other kind of rock.
Granite is very hard, Lana, but I'm thinking of a different rock, the one the Bible talks about.
Oh, you mean Jesus. Psalm 18:2 says, "The Lord is my rock."
Yes, Jesus is the rock we can trust. He's our solid rock, like the foundation of a well-built house. Do you remember the story Jesus told about a wise man and a foolish man and where they built their houses?
I know that story. The wise man built his house on the rock, and when the heavy rains and flood came, the wise man's house stood firm.
Yeah, and the foolish man built his house on sand, and when the rains came, his house fell down.
I learned a song about that at church.
Right, that's a good song. Natalia really likes singing that one. Well, that story was a parable. Jesus was really talking about our lives. When we build our lives on Jesus, no matter how many troubles we have, He'll hold us up.
Even through an earthquake?
Yes, Harold, Jesus is stronger than any earthquake.
Huh. I guess I was wrong, Mrs. Lee.
Wrong? About what, Lana?
Well, granite isn't the hardest kind of rock. Jesus the rock is our solid rock.
That's right. If your life is built on Jesus, your foundation is unshakable, even in an earthquake. Well, if you're all finished with your math, it's time to go outside for recess.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes, Harold?
I didn't finish my math. Do I have to stay inside?
I see. Trouble focusing again, Harold?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry I distracted you, Lana.
Honestly, I'm pretty used to it.
Well, Harold, I appreciate your honesty. I have one math question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah?
What does one rattled teacher plus one class full of shaking kids equal?
One tired teacher plus one class? I don't know. Oh, recess?
You got it. All right, everyone who didn't finish your math, take it home for homework. Let's take an extra long recess.
I'm glad that Harold got to go outside for recess and play Foursquare, and that everyone was all right. You know, the story about the wise builder and the foolish builder, it's in the Bible. It's in Matthew chapter 7. Now, it's a short story. I'll read it for you. It's Matthew 7, verses 24 to 27, and this is what it says. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. So, how can we be sure that our lives are built on the solid rock instead of sand? Jesus said that those who hear his words and do them will be like the wise man who built his house on the rock. And that means that if we put our faith in Jesus and really do what he says, we will be built on the rock. That's a safe place to be each and every day. I'm Miss Jean, and you've been listening to a mini adventure in Discovery Mountain, where the air is clear enough to hear your imagination, and where every day is an exercise in faith. Visit us at discoverymountain.com, where you can learn more about your favorite characters and listen to full episodes on demand. Until next time, stay connected with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Solid Rock was written by our rock-solid friend, Janice Nelson.